The Mount Elizabeth Historical Site is an archaeological site in Jensen Beach, Florida that I had been wanting to visit for quite some time. A recent road trip to Miami offered us the opportunity to stop in briefly to enjoy and learn about this historical site, to get some footage for our channel and provide a backdrop for what I am learning about the Native American history in Florida. According to archaeologists, the shell mountain called Mount Elizabeth was constructed approximately 4,000 years ago during the late Archaic period by Florida bands of indigenous people known as the Ace Indians. The site was occupied from 4,000 to 800 years ago by these natives who subsisted by hunting large land animals from the inland on what was then a vast wet marshland and coastal hammocks. Later, they progressed closer to the coast and subsisted by hunting smaller animals and shellfish. They established villages and towns along these waterways where fresh water was available. This prehistoric Indian mound, known as a Midden, was made from the abundance of shells that were easily harvested from the nearby Indian River Lagoon in the Atlantic Ocean. The mound was originally at least 60 feet high, and it contains shards of pottery, tools, fish bones, shell ornaments, and other items used by the Indians in their everyday lives. This site is the southernmost evidence of fiber-tempered pottery along Florida's east coast. The exact function of this mound is unknown, but it possibly was seasonally occupied and served as a burial or ceremonial ground. It is the highest shell midden mound in Florida, presently sitting at 40 feet above sea level. After European contact in the 15th century, these and most of Florida's natives died of disease or from war with other natives and their British allies. Florida was transferred from Spanish to British control in 1763, and the remaining native Floridians were given the option of staying in Florida or going to Cuba. Most of them chose to go to Cuba, and they boarded a ship in the Biscayne Bay in the fall of 1763, thus ending the history of a proud people who had lived in Florida for at least 5,000 years. Mount Elizabeth and the surrounding property first appeared on an 1850 plot map shortly before they were purchased by the explorer William Henry Racy in the late 1850s. In 1891, his son Charles Racy built a 3-story wood frame house on the mound for his family, and they started a pineapple and citrus plantation on the property. The mansion included 100 acres of land, and later a barn and a tennis court were added. The home burned to the ground in 1921, and the Race family sold the property to a New York judge. In 1936, an Atlanta businessman named Williford Leach and his wife Ann Bates Leach, who was a Coca-Cola heiress, purchased Mount Elizabeth and the surrounding property. Together, they built the 15,000 square foot Mediterranean revival-style home, complete with a full basement that exists on the mound today. The estate was completed in 1939 with the latest architectural designs for the time, and it was named Tuckahoe, which they thought to be a Native American term for welcome. The Tuckahoe home sat on approximately 54 acres of riverfront, woodland, and rolling hills, and it became the hub of social life in Martin County. It was the setting for countless parties attended by the local social set and for World War II soldiers from nearby Camp Murphy. Mrs. Leach helped to found the Garden Club and also donated the funds necessary to build the original building for the well-known Bascom Palmer Eye Institute in Miami. When the Leach family moved to Palm Beach in 1950, they sold the mansion and property to the Catholic Church and the Sisters of St. Joseph based in St. Augustine. The Sisters of St. Joseph added 2 dormitory wings to the building and moved the novitiate and the St. Joseph College of Florida, which was then only a Sisters Formation College, to the property. The site became Florida's only 2-year liberal arts college and was operated by the Sisters until it was purchased in 1972 by the Florida Institute of Technology. FIT is a university that offers degrees in marine science. The Leach Mansion was used as its administration building. The FIT campus at the Leach Mansion was closed in 1986, and the mansion and surrounding property stood vacant for more than a decade until local community leaders led a referendum drive to encourage Martin County to purchase the property. After acquisition in 1997, the county overhauled the property and created Indian Riverside Park, which first opened to the public in 2001. Indian Riverside Park is a 63-acre premier local family destination with 1/2 mile of waterfront space, a 3/4 mile walking path and mangrove boardwalk, 780-foot-long fishing pier, free interactive playground with a water fountain, beach, a pavilion area, and beautifully landscaped gardens with open grass fields. It is also home to the Treasure Coast Children's Museum and U.S. Sailing Center. Also located at the Indian Riverside Park is the Seawall Home. There is a peninsula along the Indian River very near the site of the Shell Mound, which was once known as Seawall's Point in honor of a local pioneer, developer, and captain named Henry Seawall sometime around 1889. Later, a nearby community was named Seawall's Point in his honor. Captain Seawall became the local postmaster and established the post office inside his own home in 1891. Captain Seawall and his wife lived in this home until 1910, when the home was relocated to the nearby community of Willoughby Creek, where it stood for 90 years. It was saved from demolition in 2006 by a unanimous vote from the County Board of Commissioners and relocated to the Indian Riverside Park, where it sits today. This property was added to the National Register of Historic Places in September of 2002.
How nice. Oh, I definitely want to get down to that boardwalk. However we get down there.
On the other side.
Looks like they used to have a pier or something out there. I see what looks like posts left. Man, this would have been an awesome house, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Can you imagine living here? Let's see what else is upstairs. Oh, the portrait of a lady here. There's a portrait of a lady in here. Anne Bates Leach.
That's the lady.
What lady?
The mansion at Tuckahoe was restored in 2009 for public use, and the facility now hosts numerous events every year. It is one of the premier locations for weddings in Martin County and can be rented for the price of $151,000. Free historic guided tours of the mansion run twice a month on Wednesdays from October through May. Michael and I would have loved to catch one of these tours, but unfortunately we were visiting on a Friday in September. The mansion at Tuckahoe overlooks the beautiful Indian River Lagoon within Martin County's Indian Riverside Park. Sitting atop the Mount Elizabeth Mound, it creates one of the most historically significant sites in Florida.
See, I want to be able to see like the shell midden, which is
exactly. I thought I would be able to see more shell. There's lizards everywhere. Look at that guy.
I know.
Look at his tail.
You want to go scare him so we can see how big he is? Here, you go that way. I'll go this way. Wow, what a honk! Go see if we can get you in this shot. Oh man. Okay, never mind. It's all right. Oh, so here you go. Free tours on the first and third Wednesday of every month. Oh, he went up that tree, babe.
Teresa Schober is the Vice President of the Archaeological Research Cooperative and the principal investigator for their co-op, which was named Getting to the Bottom of Mount Elizabeth. In 2012, she presented the ARCO-op with a series of research questions and proposed archaeological analyses. She secured funding aimed at Mount Elizabeth, as it is a critically important late archaic site in southeastern Florida. The site is a 4,500-year-old heap of shells, unfortunately underneath a historic mansion, and its structure and contents are in need of a thorough analysis and reporting. Understanding the important temporal context, geographical extent, and structure of the Mount Elizabeth site increased substantially with cultural resource management assets in the 1990s and research-oriented excavations in 2008. Restoration of the mansion in 2008 allowed for the systemic collection of sediment and zooarchaeological samples for future analysis. These samples and specialized examination of unanalyzed cultural material recovered in 2008 and 2009 provide an opportunity to significantly enhance our understanding of the unique position Mount Elizabeth holds in the East Okeechobee region and southeastern Florida during the late Archaic period. According to Teresa Schober's presentation, the Mount Elizabeth property has been used in many ways over the years, and each has contributed to its preservation. There were several previous investigations of the property going back as far as 1844, when Francis LeBaron from the Smithsonian Institute incorrectly stated that the mound elevation was 60 feet high instead of only 30 feet. Further archaeological studies did not begin until 1994, when AHC completed a survey and shovel tests. At that time, a 1 by 1 meter, 9 to 10 foot deep area was excavated, but the bottom of the mound was not found. In 1998, Janus Research conducted another investigation, including a 2 by 1 meter square with a depth of 1.4 meters. A 2.5 meter auger test reached 12 to 13 feet deep, but also did not locate the bottom. However, St. John's and sand-tempered pottery were found in an elevated area, and radiocarbon dating placed them at 4,000 years old. These studies showed that the mound was constructed of dense shell with some black midden above it. Additional artifacts were also found when stabilizing the shoreline. Restoration of the mansion in the early 2000s included the installation of an elevator, providing the opportunity to excavate below the basement floor to the bottom of the site. When the mansion was originally constructed, a full basement underneath the mansion removed a significant amount of the shell midden. However, the elevator restoration allowed for a 10-meter excavation below the floor of the basement, revealing that there were no fiber-tempered pottery remains below this point. It appears that Mount Elizabeth was not used after 3,900 years ago, even though native people were still living in separate sites nearby. Well, that's going to wrap up everything I have learned about the Mount Elizabeth shell midden site. Michael and I came because we really wanted to see another large pile of shells. As you can see, it's pretty developed and overgrown, so you can't really see the oyster shells that this mound is made of. But it was still really cool to be here, especially knowing that it's the largest one in Florida and has such a deep and long-standing historical significance. We enjoyed walking around and didn't even mind that we didn't get to tour the mansion because we truly were here for the Native American history. At this point, I'm just going to show you the rest of the footage that we took on site. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you again another day in another one.